Hey, Jeannie Lynch coming back to you today. Welcome back. Spiritual Stories Worth Sharing. Continuing this beautiful year focus of hopefully inspiring you to make a difference in your day, but also to the world. Let me introduce you to my next beautiful guest. We have BECCA Rich Wellness. She's coming in. Beautiful company all around. Are you ready? Time management holistically. Doesn't that just sound beautiful? She will be on so many different playlists on my channel because it truly is everything that I want to talk about. I want people to be the best expression of themselves. I want them to give their all and make a difference in the world, but not at the expense of their own health. And that's basically her beautiful story that she'll be sharing today. She came from, as she defined it, maybe a childhood dysfunction, workaholic parents that projected a lot of that overachieving energy onto her. And as she was studying to be an engineer in school, she ended up getting pretty sick, realizing that she needed to change things, that she needed to take a deep look at her life and find a better approach, work-life balance. That's what we'll be talking about today. She's going to share her beautiful story, her awakening to that understanding, and also share some tips with you that I think we all could use right now. Do you agree? Stay watching, stay listening. That beautiful spiritual story we're sharing is coming up next. So BECCA, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to meet with both of our audiences and talk about this spiritual story worth sharing. So whether people are listening to this on our podcast, mine is the Intuitive Mindset Podcast with Jeannie Lynch, or watching this on our YouTube channels, we truly do appreciate the audience. So right out of the gate, so excited that you're on because we're talking about time management. And here we are, right? We're all home, social distancing, in a crisis, having to manage our time for the first time. And I just was so excited when you reached out to me to share your beautiful spiritual story we're sharing, but also this modality. And I'm going to put you on so many different playlists on my channel, by the way, because you light up with so much that I teach. I'm excited to hear what you have to offer us. So without further ado, I'm going to please share your beautiful spiritual story.
Yeah, so thanks so much, first of all, for having me on your podcast and your show. And I loved connecting with you prior to this, and I'm just excited to be here with you in this moment.
Yeah.
My story, back when I was a kid, I grew up, my dad was an entrepreneur. He started his business when he was 14 years old. So I grew up watching someone work all of the time. And then my mom was in the medical field, right? So, growing up with parents who were not often around was pretty hard. And I think that it didn't really hit me until about 7 years ago. I was in university, I was studying engineering, I was studying to become an engineer, and I went to the hospital. I had an intestinal infection, and it was like my friend had to drag me to the hospital because I had a deadline I had to meet. I didn't care about myself. I didn't care why I was sick. I just needed to get healthy so I could continue to work. That was one of those moments where you have a wake-up call. And through that wake-up call, I realized that I needed to start taking care of myself, but I didn't realize the impact of my parents or, working all of the time. I just thought, I didn't know that they were connected.
Well, let me stop you there because in all the people I've been working with over the years, including myself and my own self-healing, until you get away from mom and dad, you really don't know, we'll call it function or dysfunction that you're in until you get out into the big world, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, this isn't normal. Isn't this what everybody does, right? Isn't this how everybody treats everybody? So how old were you at this point in your life when you had this kind of health crisis?
I was 18.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
young.
Yeah.
I was young, and I moved 1,000 miles away from home. When you grow up having to be an adult, you feel like an adult, right? So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to move 1,000 miles away. It's all going to be good. And I thought life would change. I was like one of those kids who thought that life would change the minute that I moved somewhere new.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen. You bring all your baggage with you.
That's so true.
Yeah. So, I found yoga. A friend also dragged me to yoga. So like all of the influences were just like, hey, a friend mentioning like, you should go to the hospital because you're not feeling too well.
Yeah.
Or, a friend telling me to try yoga and meditation. And so I went to my university's gym. Like
Nice.
it wasn't a yoga studio. It wasn't
Yep.
anything like fancy. But the instructor, Janice, she was in her 60s, 65 maybe. She wasn't into like the physical poses, right? And when you get into yoga, you know that there's like a physical pose type teacher, and then there's like a more spiritual teacher. And I didn't know the difference at that point, right?
Yeah.
But you could feel it. You could feel it in your body. And this woman just like blew my mind open. And I fell in love with yoga, and she introduced me to yoga nidra and meditation and all of those other practices that help you slow down and get out of your body. And it was truly special to get introduced to yoga at that time because I started taking care of myself.
I'm so envious that you were exposed to this so early on in life. It took me kicking and screaming until I was almost 50 to find a yoga mat, and it changed my life too. So I love your story. Okay, so here you are, you've had this health crisis. And I remember when we were talking offline too, at what point did you start helping other people? Because you started talking about how you had this skill or this gift of getting things done and finding life balance and stuff. So take me there. I know that's kind of how we get into the time management piece.
Yeah. So, like I said a minute ago, it wasn't clear to me the connection between my to-do list and how hard I was working.
Got it.
And how I was unable to take care of myself. And so it took time. I became a yoga teacher. I went to Reiki healing. I did both level 1 and level 2 Reiki trainings. And so I got into those healing modalities, and I was like, I need to learn what this is all about. Part of my astrology chart is like, I need to learn everything, right? So it just made sense that I just needed to learn about Reiki and yoga and all that. But I started a business and I wanted to teach yoga, but it wasn't the physical yoga, it wasn't, it was something more. And so I started helping people just find time for yoga. And it was so weird. Like, yeah, it was just helping them find time for self-care and for their yoga practice or to meditate or to do whatever that they deeply needed to feel nourished. And someone one day goes, why aren't you a time management coach, not a yoga teacher? And it clicked, like it just all clicked. And because it was confusing. I was calling myself a yoga teacher, but I wasn't teaching yoga. I was teaching the time management piece, which to me, in my spirit and my soul, is still yoga. In order to manage your time effectively, you have to know yourself really well. And that's what yoga does for you. So
you're really touching on too what we talk about quite a bit on my channel, self-love. You are enough, dedication to your own self. And I think many people listening will identify with this next statement, which is we're so sometimes busy being in service to others that we get so busy being in service to others that we forget about our own health, so we need to practice in what we teach, right? So I love that.
Yeah.
So how did you navigate through this whole process of, I think we're starting to open up that door too, so I love that you just didn't do the time management and that you still incorporated the spiritual part of who you are as a human being and stuff. So how did you navigate those two together? And is it a full-blown business today? Is it through yoga that you do this, or is it through coaching for time management?
Yeah, so I would say that, I'm an engineer. I grew up teaching, like that's my dominant brain. Like that's what's so ingrained in me. So I have turned it into a business that is like full-fledged time management coaching. But before I start any client sessions, before I do anything, we breathe together, we arrive together. I incorporate aspects of the yoga practice within everything that I teach my clients. And part of what I help people do is get to know themselves better and be more realistic about like what they're trying to bring into the world and how they go about doing that. And that's so spiritual. Like
Yeah. It
yeah.
sounds like yoga therapy. I love that. So
Yeah.
I know you're getting ready to do more YouTubing and podcasts, which is how we got connected. Will you in the future be kind of doing any of the yoga practices online on your YouTube channel?
Yeah. So I have this series in my mind, yoga for entrepreneurs or yoga for business owners, where we talk about if you had a stressful day with all of your clients, like here's a 10-minute practice for you. So it's contextualized into an entrepreneur space.
Love it.
So right now on my YouTube channel, I have like a 10-minute chair yoga video that you can do, that's just like really cute. You can sit at your desk and stretch out a little bit. And,
Okay.
so yeah, I plan to incorporate it.
Cool. Well, just tell me when you are so I can follow that, because I do all my yoga online and I love that. So cool. So let's go into what was your point of inspiration that got you here? Obviously, we're talking about we'll call her your yogini there. What's her name again? The beautiful teacher that was
Janice.
yeah. So she sounds like your point of inspiration, right? Was there anyone or anything else besides yoga and this woman to open up that door to you, or is that your point of inspiration?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of teachers. Like I love asking questions. I love learning. I love all of the information that I could like possibly get my hands on.
Hey, would you be open? I have to do this to you. I don't know if you know what I do, but I'm an intuitive reader. I don't know
Yeah.
if you knew that as we were connecting from our channels, but the whole time you've been talking and you're talking about learning, you have the mark of the teacher. So people who love to learn, you said it was in your astrology chart,
Yeah.
and as I'm sitting here, you have the mark of something I have in my own life plan, which is I'm here to teach because I'm here to learn. So I can't just ever open up a door and go, like when I was in therapy, they were talking about, you should try yoga. And I'm like,
No.
and she's like, why, Jean, of all the things you'd really enjoy it. And I said, because that'll be one more thing that I have to teach. I never taught it, but the point is everything we do, because we're teachers and learners, right? So I really enjoy that energy in you. So I like that you recognize it in yourself too. I just wanted to off the cuff say that to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think, I played teacher with my childhood best friend growing up. Like there's no, I can't get around that. I can't get away from that. And I just love learning from people. So I would say that humans, like, I know this probably sounds cliche, but I want to say that humans are my inspiration. Like,
Oh, I
just like
love that.
seeing other human beings live their truth is something that I look up to. So anyone that I can feel intuitively that lives to their truth and to their own beat of their drum, like those are the people that I look up to.
Well, Becca, that's why we're working together today. The law of attraction has brought us together, right? The engineer mind, like, in my bank job, 25 years supporting women in business, people said, you're also intuitive, like the two jobs didn't go together. How does engineering line up with this? Or are you still doing the engineer career? Do you still have that full blown going too?
Yeah, so I am still, as of right now, working in my 9 to 5 job as an engineer.
Okay.
And, I don't know how long that will last, but I think that I bring all of my skills as a human being to the forefront. I
Nice.
don't compartmentalize parts of me anymore, and that's part of this journey is to live my truth and to accept and use every single part of my being to my clients, to the people that I talk with.
Yeah.
And, as an engineer, I'm a problem solver. So I get to know someone's brain and then I problem solve and structure how they need to structure their day or time to them, not to me.
Well, let's dive into today then. We'll kind of jump on you because here that's such a good, beautiful door opener. We were talking offline before we started interviewing about where we are in the world, right? And about how a lot of people who went to work every day, 9 to 5, 2 o'clock's their lunch, click out, they know their schedule. All of a sudden they're home they're doing Zoom meetings, they have to organize their own time, their own coffee breaks, and be efficient and still get paid, right? So here we are in this extreme change. My question to you is, you're saying things, I don't like to compartmentalize, which I love that. I love that language that you just used. How do people who are used to being told what to do all of a sudden become disciplined to have their own day organized? Because I know you have something to say about that. So can you give my listeners and your listeners some tips for right now? What would be helpful for them?
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't go from like 0 to 100 in overnight, right? And especially when we're all in a global crisis where our nervous systems are already like activated and there's already so much change. So you can't go from, it's not an easy transition, like you mentioned. And one of my favorite activities that I do with my clients and myself whenever I need to do it is to track my time. And so what this looks like, tracking every 30 minutes in a spreadsheet, or there's free apps or whatever. And you can track what you do, but I'm more interested in tracking when you're most energetic or motivated or in tune with yourself. And when you feel the best, when you feel the most you, and that is the time that you want to take action. That's when you want to do your most intense or focus driven work. And then during times when you are not energized, you're not motivated, those are the times that you either check your email. If you need to work still, check your email, text messages, anything like that doesn't need a lot of brain power. That's when you do that.
Okay. Perfect.
And then you can also give yourself a break. Like during those times, relax. Give yourself a moment.
Do yoga.
Go do some yoga. Go do some, I've been experimenting with taking 20-minute naps. Go do something to recharge your battery during that like mid slump of the day. And that will help you recover a lot faster.
Got it. Well, I was thinking today on my bike ride, getting ready to talk to you, that in my experience, there's 2 times you lose track of time, and they're polar opposites. When you're in a lot of pain and miserable, right? And then the other one is joy, when you're really doing something you love, and somebody taps you. I get that way when I'm doing my editing. It can be 5 hours and I'm 2 minutes in, so I love doing those types of activities. So it's interesting that, how do you manage your time when here we are, everyone's kind of vacillating between fear and, being afraid, right?
Yeah.
So what did this teach you about yourself?
Yeah. So right now, I think the most important thing that I'm working through is detaching my worth from my to-do list.
Okay.
When you grow up with parents and society that tell you to just like go, 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 and don't even like stop to think about what you're doing, it's really easy for you to get lost and not be in tune with your true self, and not be aligned in any way, shape, or form. And especially with your self-care, you don't feel when you're tired, you don't feel when you need to rest and take care of yourself. And so,
did you just say where you are that as a time management coach, you do not have a to-do list? Because I think that's amazing.
So I have a list, but it's different.
Okay.
I put it in my calendar. So it's not a list. I schedule my week out, and within the events, I time block, and that's my list. So it's active. All I do throughout the week is just follow my calendar. I don't have to decide what to work on a daily basis. And then all of the weekly basis things come out of my intention, or from my quarter, my priorities. So it's really intuitive.
Hey, can you share a success story with somebody that you've managed? Like, here you are, you have this skill, you've learned it because of your past, and you put it into practice. It's become a business. You get a client in. Take me through just like an example of someone you worked with and the success that you had in working with them and the difference it maybe made in their life. I would love to hear that.
Yeah. So one of my favorite clients right now, she wants to start a business. She's been successful in her 9-to-5 jobs and has given a lot of success. but it's been so challenging for her to make the time and make the effort for her own thing. It's really easy to do all the things for everyone else and not for you. And so helping her, reschedule and reprioritize her day in a way that she can do those actions for her and her business at the times that she's most motivated and like energetic and focused, she's getting things done. And we've worked on sleeping 8 hours every night, taking time to do nothing with the kids. It's a very balanced approach, and she's able to make the time for the things that she wants to do for herself.
I love this. My sense is if you schedule, like you're saying, instead of the to-do list, you schedule it, then you make sure that the things that you love to do are getting on the calendar. And I've always said in my own spiritual practice, nothing happens unless it's on the calendar. Right?
Yep.
So I love that. I love that. So what's your message that you want to share with others? Like if you were standing on top of the world today and could say an inspiring message, what would be your message today, Becca, that would benefit others?
I have, I have so many. I think that right now I would want to shout from the rooftops, you can rest and be worthy of happiness.
I think that was just for me today. Thank you. I needed to hear that. Have I missed anything as we kind of wrap up today? When you thought about being interviewed today and an opportunity to share our platforms with each other, was there something that you wanted to make sure that got said that you'd like to say?
I'll just add, when I started helping people find time for yoga and self-care and all of that, a year and a half, 2 years ago when I was starting my business, why I transitioned to what I'm doing now is that a lot of people found that they couldn't rest without getting their to-do list done. And I am right there with you, as a human being that, has the struggles of growing up in our society of more, that's what I help people do, get their to-do list done and rest, and it's okay if you are struggling with putting your worth in your to-do list, because we all are as a human species, and I just want to say that you are worthy.
I love that.
Again.
And you're bringing mindfulness to the fact that some of the things that I'm going to say suck the time away from me, I would say there's a little bit of an addiction to my social media. There's a little bit of an addiction to my YouTube channel, to, my editing, so you must have something to do with that too, as you're trying to like help people manage their time. Some of it tips over into just unhealthy, right?
Yeah, there's definitely mindset shifts to make around perfectionism, procrastination is the shame cycle around a to-do list. And so a lot of folks will write this long to-do list without it being realistic or in tune with themselves and what they really need to do. They shame themselves at the end of the week because they couldn't get it all done. So they set themselves up for failure. And that's, all of those cycles of, putting so much time and effort into something because you're a perfectionist, or putting too much on your plate because you want to get that shame hit of not completing it at the end of the week. Those are all things that can be worked through and can be worked on.
Well, I got to tell you, my pleasure. I put down things on my to-do list sometimes that I've already done, just so I could have the satisfaction of checking them off and saying, well, that was what I got done today, but I feel good doing it. So
I just want to mention also that what I teach is something called a have done list.
Okay.
And so instead of a to-do list, you're writing down all the things that you have done. So you're incorporating all of the feelings of fulfillment, abundant in a tangible way. And I think that's kind of what you were alluding to in a way.
That's so funny. I do it to feel satisfied. So I like that.
And it's so true. It motivates you. You have so much momentum, and a lot of productivity coaches or time management coaches will tell you to end the day with your next big 3 or your next big one. And I just want to say that's ending your day. You're going to sleep on what you haven't completed, and that is really hard on your nervous system, your brain, your body. So it's really important for you to, consciously see what you have done.
I love that. Have you ever followed Neville Goddard at all? His work?
No,
he talks about, it's called the day of revision, where you get into bed at the end of the night and you recover the day. And if there's something that you didn't meet mindfully, there's an opportunity to change it in your mind and see it another way, so that you don't go to bed with the feeling of shame and guilt and all that you have already kind of played out a better outcome, so you can wake up tomorrow and have that happen. I love that. So, hey, we're going to move into our fun little rapid fire. Do you know what rapid fire is?
We're going to go for it.
We're going to go for it. You can only answer 1 or 2 word questions, and the music's kicking up. We're all having fun with this. And this is a great time for me to tell you, I really do appreciate your time today. I appreciate the connection. Looking forward to, I'm going to share all your social media links in the description. If anyone wants to reach out to Becca and work with her on her time management, please poke her. She will respond to this podcast and to this YouTube video. Sound good?
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it. So, rapid fire, here we go. What is your favorite spiritual book that you'd like to share with others?
Be Here Now, Ram Dass. Here Now.
Yes, got it. Okay. If you were going to change the world today, the world needs what in order to be changed?
To manage their time, to get to know themselves.
I love that. It's a cue for her too. I love it. Life lesson. We all kind of come here with certain life lessons that we feel is our, coursework. What do you think yours is?
Love myself.
I love that. I love that. What do you love about yourself?
Ask for help. Ask for help.
Can you just say that again? Because so many people need to hear that.
Ask for help.
That it's okay to ask for help, people. I love that. And last question before we say goodbye today. What are you doing when you're experiencing joy?
Breathing.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Becca. I really do appreciate your time. This is saying goodbye.
Thank
Love
you.
And light. Thank you again. Okay.
Not long enough.